Hello, everyone. I am here today with Joe Pulizzi, the godfather of content marketing and also the founder of Content Marketing Institute, the leading education and training organization for content marketing, which includes the largest in-person content marketing event in the world called Content Marketing World, which I highly suggest everyone consider going to. Joe is also the winner of 2014 John Caldwell Lifetime Achievement Award from the Content Council. Joe released his fourth book recently called Content Inc., which, and his third book, Epic Content Marketing, was named one of the 5 must-read business books of 2013 by Fortune magazine. And as always, if you ever see Joe in person, he will be wearing orange. And today, we are going to be talking about Joe's fourth book, Content Inc., and the Content Inc. model. Joe, how are you doing today?
David, I could not be better. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And by the way, I'm wearing orange even on a podcast.
Even on a podcast?
You don't have to worry about that. I wear orange every day.
Do you really?
I have to go outside. Just in case I have to go out of the house, I wear orange because you never know, right?
Well, that's good. Well, every now and then put a little burnt orange shade on that for my UT Longhorns, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely do. We love all variations and tones of PMS variations of orange, so we're good to go there.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's your trademark, and you made it happen. So to kind of just dig into everything here, for those who aren't familiar with the Content Inc. model, can you quickly go through it and why it works so well for small and large businesses when it comes to content marketing? Just kind of a review.
Absolutely, yeah. Just to give an overview, I mean, basically, I wrote Epic Content Marketing, and as you said, in 2013, and I have a goal of writing a book every 2 years, and I'm like, okay, well, what's this one going to be on? And actually, I had more and more people come up to me from smaller businesses saying, Joe, you know, we loved Epic, but it was really geared toward larger businesses, larger marketers, and it was. It absolutely is true. And I'm like, well, you know, can we do something for smaller businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs? And so what we did is we just started researching a lot of different companies that became successful using a content marketing approach. And we found 20, 30, 40 different amazing examples of content marketing working for even in large businesses, but basically where there was no budget available, where they did it a lot, in most cases, on a shoestring. So what we did is we found those case studies and we reverse engineered the model. And the team and we were basically asking the question, well, is there anything predictable in their model? Can we basically reverse engineer those case studies and find out, are there things in common where you or I can then take that program and say, look, if we follow this model, we can actually monetize that content in some way, whatever the goal might be. And the great thing, David, is we actually found that there were 6 steps. Every company that we found takes 6 steps. They do it at different times. It's not always perfectly symmetrical when you look at the times, but they all did the exact same 6 things, and we can talk about some of those. But basically, the first 2 are strategy. You find out the sweet spot, which is basically the story that you need to be telling, the story you should be telling. And then the second portion is the content tilt, and that's all about, am I actually telling a different story that's going to break through all the content clutter? So before you create any content, it's all about building that strategy. The next step is building the base. And what we found out, David, is that instead of telling your story and spreading it all over every channel you could possibly think of, you actually focus on one content type, one platform, and you consistently deliver over time. And the greatest media companies of all time have done this, and the greatest content marketing examples are basically doing the same. The 4th step is harvesting audience, and what we see around very successful case studies is that email subscribers, email newsletters are critical. So we see a lot of these companies building up their email and print subscribers and not just relying on social media connections, which they have no control over. We have no control over as we go. And once we build that audience, we diversify, and that's where you see things like, okay, we're moving from one channel, let's say a blog or a YouTube video series or an iTunes podcast, and now we're doing things like maybe launching a print magazine, or we're launching a podcast off of our blog, we're launching a webinar series. We're starting to do other things to expand that reach and share more of our content goodness, as we know that if we do that correctly, our customers will know, like, and trust us more, and will lead to more positive benefits for the organization. And then the sixth step, which you got to figure out, okay, well, why are we doing this? Is it going to help the business? And that's all around monetization. And what we found out is that businesses monetize in 9 different ways. They do that. Some, like media companies, do it through advertising and sponsorship, or like we do at the Content Marketing Institute, through events. Some want to sell more products and services. Some want to create more loyal customers. Some want to take it for data so that they can launch new products for research and development. Some do it through donations. It's a lot of different ways to make money. But what was exciting, David, is that there's actually a model out there that we can follow. We don't have to guess. And the only caveat to this whole thing working is time. And we know that all these case studies, for the most part, they take over 12 months to really work. So if you're out there thinking about doing something in 6 months or less, I would say don't even try this. Go do something else. Go interrupt people. Go do advertising. But if you want to build a loyal relationship with an audience and build an asset over time, then the Content Inc. model is something you might want to look at.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, Joe. Just taking some notes here. Yeah, I mean, there's some really good stuff. But for starters, I just have to say I'm a little hurt that you didn't use us as a model. What we did for Schweike Media when you were looking at smaller businesses. I'm a little hurt, but I'll let it go.
I got another book. Hey, I'm always writing another book, so don't worry about that. I got to write a book in 2017, so there we go. There's still plenty of opportunities.
We're very proud of what we've done for them with it. It's just, and it's, and all joking aside, we're a great case study for you, because we saw it work, and then now 5-6 years in, it's the lifeblood of our company. It's the leads coming in. If we don't get a few leads every day, I'm like, guys, are our forms broken? Is something wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's literally, and if 2 days go by, I'm not joking. I go in there, I was like, what's wrong? Something's wrong, because it works, but it does take time and it gets going. But all joking aside, I definitely would love to be included in your book.
No, no. Hey, I absolutely love hearing that. No, yeah. Well, the point you make is really incredible, because what you're taking in more control over your marketing and your business, because you don't have to leave it up to communicating in other people's platforms. You already have the platforms built. And so once you get to a certain point, it really is a point where you're on autopilot with a lot of this stuff. You can choose to even go more so. But like we get at Content Marketing Institute right now, we get about 200 subscribers a day. And those subscribers end up buying lots of stuff from us and going to Content Marketing World and signing up for online training. But that started in 2007. So we've been doing this for 9 years now. And a lot of people don't realize that. They want to just throw a lot of money at it quickly, thinking they can build a relationship over time, or build a relationship in a short period of time, and you simply can't do it.
Yeah, and that's a challenge. But once you get into that jet stream, it's glorious. It's wonderful. It's calming, but you got to get there. And that's, with our firm, Magnificent Marketing, that's definitely a challenge where, we undergo with the small, I wouldn't even say medium business. Medium is pretty big, decent-sized business, but specifically the smaller business that's starting from scratch with nothing, very small presence, no email list, anything like that, and people are going to want to return right away or quick enough, but it's just, convincing that and understanding that. But if you can convince both sides of it, don't expect a lot right away. But once it gets going, pretty much all your worries about sales will dissipate, and you just got to worry about coming through with what you're offering, or what your services are providing. So so that's good to hear, and I really it's just a challenge with the budget. But that's a good point you brought up, is like if you need it right away, you might not want to. If you can't invest 12 months worth of time, you might not do it. But realistically, people do, for their investment, small business, that's the chicken or the egg, right? I mean, you need the money to invest, and, you need to invest, you need sales and all that, and you need to create something. So if somebody want to get going with something, needing some sales quicker than, 6 months, but then, but kind of dipping their toes in, would you suggest they even try like a smaller model of some sort to try to, get it going and then try to get some sort of return, or or is it basically, hey, just understand this is going to take some time. If you can't wait, it might not be for you. You might just need to do smaller, advertisements here and there. Is that kind of your advice?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. You could start off with a pilot program. Absolutely. We talk about it in the book. You basically look at a 6-month pilot program. You focus on one audience with one content type. You focus on a customer pain point that audience has, and you figure out a model where you can deliver consistently. Now, if you want to get more reach sooner, because it's going to take you a while to get organic reach, it's going to take a while for you to build that audience, you might want to put some sponsorship, advertising, pay-per-click, social advertising around it, whatever, so that you can get more attention faster. If you're just going to do it organically, it's going to take some time. But if you want to speed the cycle, you need to speed this up, let's say, because your boss is like, hey, we're going to see something in 6 months. You've got to put something behind it. It either has to be paid, you have to really work an influencer marketing program, and it's not to say you can't do this. Like when we started, when I started the blog for what is now Content Marketing Institute in 2007, the first 6 months, it was radio silence. There wasn't much going on, but we started to see some things happen between month 6 and month 9. So it absolutely is possible, but we didn't generate direct revenue until probably after 12 months. So I would say, hey, if you're a small business, don't do a lot. Just do one thing really, really well in one channel, and then run it like a pilot program, because you're going to see lower level indicators to start. You'll see web traffic. You'll see some downloads of ebooks. You'll see some e-newsletter subscribers. Those are all really, really good things, and you just have to set the expectations in your company that to see things like sales or to see behavior change in current customers, it's going to take a little bit longer than 6 months.
Yeah, and it's that's change. I mean, I'm just, and everyone just understand this is coming from, the guy who coined the term content marketing, godfather of content marketing, because you hear different, it used to be takes 3 to 6 months, and it was like 4 to 6 months, and it was 6 to 9 months, but it really sounds like you've really got your arms around this thing, and you're looking at, hey, you really need to do it for 12 months, and then you'll really start to see. But if you can get there and you can invest in it and you have the capital to do so, I can speak from experience. Joe can speak from experience that it does turn into just one of the most calming things that can happen for you, because and then you just set it on autopilot and keep doing what you're doing, and just keep adding some sprinkles here and there with some interactive content and this and that, and you just keep going, and then it just comes down to really just fun creativity at that point. But you got to get there. You got to get there. Now, let me circle back to what you said earlier about building the strategy.
Sure.
I reached out to you the other day after listening to one of your content marketing podcasts about help me with this buyer persona thing. And I actually did buy the book, and I actually read it already from Adele Ravella. And I actually reached out to her, and I think we're going to be doing a podcast interview because I have a lot of questions I want to ask her, and I love her book, and I'm sculpting my own buyer persona strategy as well, because it is so important, and I think that is something that one thing that we could be doing better on our end that we are fixing and correcting, and we'll be doing that for high consideration type sales, because it's different than a business to consumer deal, which in just a slight digression, and you can let me know your thoughts on this. We have seen content marketing results take off a lot quicker when it's not a high consideration, big ticket sale. I mean, that's kind of an obvious thing, but for B2C type stuff, this stuff starts working fairly soon, as far as getting leads in. But for the big decision, C-level, C-suite type decision makers, we're seeing it take a lot longer to start seeing results. I don't know if you've seen that as well. I guess, can you comment on that real quick?
Well, I mean, when we have people come to us and they talk about the timetable, I always want to know, well, what's the buyer's journey? How long does the buyer's journey take? And they'll say, generally, if you're a B2B company, you see it anywhere from 9 to 12 months, sometimes longer. Sometimes with big, heavy industrial equipment, it might be 12 to 18 months or even longer than that. So my response back is, well, you have to at least go through one buyer's journey to know if this thing's going to work.
That's a good point.
You can't say, you can't say, hey, we want this to work in 6 months and say, oh, well, our buyer's journey is 18 months. I'm like, you're kidding yourself. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up for failure. So, I mean, if your buyer's journey is more of on a consumer basis and it's much shorter, yes, you can absolutely see some results in a quicker period of time. But what I would probably say, let's just go back to a B2B example. You have any B2B company has 7 to 9 decision makers, influencers, gatekeepers in that process. As you create your content marketing approach, what you want to do is focus on one of those. So that's why it's really important to figure out who you're talking to, because if you're talking to multiple audiences at the same time, let's say you want to talk to a CFO and a CEO at the same time. Well, good luck with that. They have very different needs and different pain points, and you're never going to be relevant enough if you focus on more than one. So what you want to do is just focus on one and think smaller from that standpoint. Be the leading expert in a very small particular niche to one audience and not expand yourself. And I think that's where you're going to have the most impact.
Yeah, thanks. And you know, we literally could do an entire podcast just on this, so we won't dig into this too deep. But I do want to just restate. You know, Joe told me to read this book from Adele Revella. It's ADELE REVELLA, and it's called Buyer Personas. And thanks for that advice, Joe. And I'll pass it on to everybody else that do go buy that book. It adds so much light on kind of what Joe's talking about picking the buyer persona, 7 to 9 decision makers, but you still got to focus. Then you got to see, you know, what they're, you know, to build your strategy, you got to start there specifically for medium to high consideration type of purchases and sales cycles. So we'll move on here because, again, like I said, that's a whole long conversation. But thanks for that, Joe. You shed some light for me on. I just was like, why is this working so much quicker for them versus that? But yeah, it's the buying cycle. If that's a week-long decision, that's a big difference between a 6-month-long decision. So that's why.
That's exactly right. You got it.
I was doing a B2C, B2B, but no, that's not what it is. It's the buying cycle. All right, thank you so much for that. Okay, for the strategy part of the Content Inc. model, you recommend a content marketing mission statement. Can you explain exactly what that is and why a company should create one?
Well, it's interesting, David. So as you know, you and I have known each other a long time. I come from the publishing arena, and I have had the pleasure to be on about 35 to 40 different launches of media products, whether those are print magazines, newsletters, webinar programs, web content platforms, whatever the case is. I've been on a number of them. And every time we launch one, this is from a media company mentality, we always start the first day or two as we're doing the strategy, we create an editorial mission statement. It's just standard. Well, why do we do that? Because we want to know exactly who we're targeting, we want to know exactly what we're going to deliver, we want to know exactly what's in it for the audience. And if we stay on point with that over a long period of time, we will be successful as a media company. And then, David, as I started to do research into all these different brands, small, medium-sized, and large, what I realized is that hardly any of them create an editorial mission statement. They just don't do it because we focus so much on the stories we want to tell. We're not focused on what do we need to tell, what do we need to talk with this audience, and what do they need to get out of every piece of content. So that's why we want to talk about creating this thing called the Content Marketing Mission Statement. So whether you've done content marketing before or whether you already have a program, you want to go back to each audience and create a singular mission for each one. And that mission would be, who specifically are we targeting for this initiative? Are we targeting an engineer? Are we targeting the CFO? Are we targeting a plant manager? To your point about a buyer persona, it needs to link to somebody that we're trying to target in some way. Then what are we going to deliver? Are we going to deliver simple tips? Is it going to be long-form content? What does the content look like and feel like? So we have an understanding and set an expectation for what we're going to deliver. And then the most important is, what's in it for the audience? So what's the outcome? Are we trying to help them get a better job, live a better life? This is not right now about us selling more widgets. It's all about helping the audience in some way. So if we can put this document together and we can get it in front of everybody that creates content for us, our employees, our influencers, freelancers, agency, whatever, Everybody will be on the same page. You will immediately see an ROI in editing costs, because now the people that are creating the content, they know why they're doing it. They have the vision in front of them at all times. Everyone's on the same page. And you know, as you create every individual piece of content, that each one has an outcome. What is the purpose of that blog post? What are we trying to do for that audience? What's the purpose of that webinar? Sometimes we forget because we're so focused on sales. We're like, oh, we got to deliver more leads. What's going to help us do that? We want to start with the audience first and say, what's in it for them? What are the pain points they need to solve? Is it in line with our mission? And then we go and figure out, okay, now we're going to communicate this way. This makes the most sense, and everybody's focused on the audience. So I'm kind of on a mission myself, David, to make sure that more companies do this, because it's what's made media companies great since the dawn of time, and it's a very simple thing that most companies just don't do.
Yeah, that's definitely what clarity and focus. Do you have a place where you can direct somebody to see an example of a content marketing mission statement?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a ton on the site. So actually, if you type in, if you go to Google, the knower of all things, Google, and you type in content marketing mission statement, I probably have written 10 articles on it. So,
all right.
Well, yeah, I trust that Google's going to show our stuff up first. I've written a couple specifically, and then, of course, in the book Content Inc., as well as Epic Content Marketing, all kinds of examples. So I use examples from media as well as from brands, small companies and large companies. Like I think I got one from Procter & Gamble. I've got a number of small company examples as well in that. So just Google content marketing mission statement, and they'll pop right up for you.
I just did, Joe, and I don't see you anywhere. No, I'm joking. You're in the top 2. Yep, it's right there.
You're scaring me, man. I was going to have to call my search engine optimization guy.
We would have edited that out. No. No, you're good. You're good. You're the top 2 spots. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I'm going to dig into that as well. I'm just going to keep it open on my Google here, and I'm going to check it out after we hang up. Because, yeah, that's I feel like we do a pretty decent job of that, but at the same time, I do think we personally could get better. I know most people could get better, and I'll just say it's starting – once you start, you know what you need to do, you really start, just starting to okay, I'm really understanding this now. And you got to kind of start at that end and work backwards.
Exactly.
And it makes it so much easier, too. And that's another thing, everyone. This stuff, for everyone who is looking to get into marketing or content marketing or anything, understand by doing some of this semi-heavy lifting at the beginning, it's not more work. It's going to make less work, and it's going to make it easier for everybody. And you're not going to be running around, just in all different areas. You're going to be focused, and it's going to be easier for you. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, it's literally just going to be so much more simple to move forward with your plan when you're actually running it. So do a little bit of work at the beginning, figure all that out, and then you just basically just keep putting coals in the fire, as I like to say, basically.
Yep.
So
measure twice, cut once. That's it.
There you go.
It's just the same thing with anything. We want to do a strategy first, then we execute. We don't want to execute and then figure out our strategy afterwards.
Exactly. All right, your third step, it's called building the base, and this is not something that most companies do. Why is that, and why do you recommend simplifying your approach here?
Boy, it's interesting now that, we had 8 different channels we could communicate with consumers before 1990, and today we've got hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways to communicate. In a lot of those cases, it's free. It doesn't cost us, hard cost anything to do that, to publish in Facebook, to Twitter, to LinkedIn, to Medium, it's very inexpensive to do an e-newsletter, to do lots of things. It doesn't cost a ton of money, and I think what we've gotten into a rut here, David, where we believe that we should just because we can, and that's the wrong way to go with this. And what we found out is that, and this is interesting, I mean, just from I love history, and I always go back and say, well, how did the New York Times start? How did the Washington Post start? How did ESPN start? And do all research. It's funny, they all started the same way, and we're saying the same thing with the content marketing approaches from companies like Red Bull or Marriott or Procter & Gamble. They've all done it the same way, and basically what they do is they focus, for the most part, when they start and target an audience, they focus on one content type for the most part. Is it audio? Is it video? Is it textual plus image? and then they focus on one content channel. Is it my blog or website? Is it a magazine? Is it iTunes? Is it YouTube for videos? And then they consistently deliver. And when I say consistently, I mean like on the minute. Every day we're going to deliver. So if you said, okay, we're going to do 3 blog posts a week, I'm going to say, no, you're not. You're releasing a blog post at 7 a.m. on Monday, 7 a.m. on Wednesday, 7 a.m. on Friday. That kind of consistency, that's a promise. And what we saw in all these case studies is everyone keeps that promise and they deliver consistently. And then the 4th step, and we've talked about this, is time. It takes generally over 12 months to get this up and running. So it's those 4 things about building the base. And I think what a lot of businesses are doing out there right now is they have lots of stories they want to tell, and we spread it all over the place instead of focusing on building that core and that hub, and that's what's shown to be successful. And I'm not just making this stuff up. I mean, this is what the data tells us. These are what the companies that are actually doing. They're doing this successfully, and then you diversify once you build that audience. And I just wish more companies would do that instead of feeling like they have to communicate 13, 15, 20 different ways to an audience. They really need to start by being great at one and doing that really, really well.
And to kind of clarify what you're saying, you're saying 12, 13 different, methods or channels. But, for instance, if you are doing, like, the written word blog and you're putting it out, you're not saying to not, it is easy to, you want to push it out to the markets, to the channels, like be it Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, put the ad dollars in the ones that make most sense for whatever, there's no one answer for that. There's 100 answers, thousands of answers. But you're not saying to not post in those other places and not push it out on those other places, because you can easily do that through, like, scheduling through Buffer or whatever. You're not saying not to push it out those places. You're just saying focus on the one channel, be it, a YouTube channel or a blog, and focus, your ad dollars on the ones that matter the most. But, you can go ahead and distribute them on Google Plus and throughout other places. Am I hearing that correctly?
I'm not talking about content promotion. There's lots of things we could do with promoting that content and how you feel it is best. But what I'm going to say is, let's say that you figure out your content marketing mission statement. You're not going to launch a magazine, a blog, a podcast, a webinar series all at the same time.
Okay,
you should focus. You should create one of those things, deliver consistently, build your audience, focus on email subscription. And then, yes, you're probably going to say there's 3 or 4 key ways we're going to promote that content. Some of that could be paid. Some of that could be social promotion where it really makes sense to do that, although a lot of companies do that very, very poorly. But, yes, so we want to focus and choose one and put the other ones to the side until you build a minimum viable audience on that one platform, and then you can expand and diversify off of that.
Gotcha. Thanks for the clarification there.
You got it.
All right. You often say don't build your house on rented land when it comes to social media. Why not?
Well, I love social media as much as you do. I mean, I'm fairly active on the social platforms, and I think that it's amazing that we have these ways to communicate with our customers. But the fact is that we have no control over our connections in those platforms. And Facebook has showed us that that's true. Whereas when we started, let's say 07, 08, 09, and you were a brand and you were a company and you got somebody that was following you that liked your page, the odds were that if you delivered something organically through your Facebook page, they would actually see it. The people that liked your page would actually see it. Now, today, that's not true. If you are a brand and you have over 10,000 people that like your page, less than 1% of the people that like that page will actually see an organic update from you. So Facebook has done, and by the way, Facebook, they can do that. They want to make money, and they've done a masterful job of making money. And they've said, hey, brands, if you want to get in touch with people on our platform, you're going to have to pay, and brands came through, and they absolutely paid. And now LinkedIn's starting to look at this, so if you're on LinkedIn, you don't see everybody's updates that you're connected with. I'm sure Twitter's going to go that direction. And we're going to see that over. And Google doesn't even know what to do with Google Plus. And we don't even know where we're going with that right now.
Have we ever?
Have we ever? That's a great point. So the point is that use social media, leverage it, but you should get up with the mentality every day that it could be gone because we don't control those platforms. So I want you to focus on the platforms you actually have the most control over, and that's why I love email. It's exactly why I think email is the best. If I talk about the subscriber hierarchy, and we do at Content Marketing Institute. At the top of that subscriber hierarchy is email and then print. Because that's where we have print subscribers, email subscribers. We have the most control to get that data and to leverage that data and to communicate directly. Way at the bottom is Facebook and YouTube because we just don't have a lot of control. Even if somebody likes my YouTube page, I don't know if they're actually going to see my videos because YouTube's going to do whatever they want with their algorithm. So we just have to make sure that we focus on that. I've felt bad for a lot of marketers that put millions of dollars into their Facebook page. They had millions of people like that page, and now they can't communicate with them anymore.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely frustrating. So in regards to that, like instant articles for like publishers or whatever, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Facebook, and by the way, Facebook opened that up to brands too. I just saw today that Intel is now publishing on instant articles. So you've got Washington Post publishing 1,000 articles, and you've got the New York Times publishing 500 articles a day through Facebook. You know, I don't know what to make of that. I'm concerned. If I'm Washington Post and the New York Times, first of all, they're not making money off of that. So they're trying to derive revenue. They're trying, not much money, so they're trying to derive revenue other ways by them going back to the site. They're not seeing people go back to those sites because why would they? They can stay on Facebook and get all the content that they want to with instant articles. I think there is some value if you're a brand and you have a certain story that you want to tell consistently, and if they can get that access to that through instant articles a little bit better, then great. It's very, very tough to measure. It's getting very cluttered on Facebook right now. I honestly don't know what the future of instant articles is, but I know what Facebook is trying to do. They're trying to create a walled garden. They want everything to stay on Facebook. You never have to leave. They're doing a darn good job of it, and as a marketer, it concerns me. I honestly don't know what the future of that will be.
Yeah, the one decent thing about Facebook, though, and I guess it's more of a law of nature than it is any sort of altruism by Facebook, but it's they're going to have to do something that works for everybody. You know, advertisers and the user base. You know, obviously they need to probably think user base first, just like the content marketing approach is. But eventually they're going to have to worry about, you know, the people who keep their business stock going up, right? And the people who pay them. So they're going to have to figure something out that it works for everybody. But yeah, I mean, that's why I just brought it up kind of randomly here, is because I'm just curious too. Like, what you know, I don't know what to think of it. It just goes against everything to the point of all this is, you know, driving people to your website so you can capture them, at least, at the very least, to let them see, oh, they have something to sell that I might like, right? Or I might be able to use. And you get people there and you build the trust, and then immediately it's right there. And, of course, there's other ways to go about that through retargeting ads and whatnot. But you really want to get people on your platform, be it YouTube or your blog page or your website or something, you know. So, you know, I don't know. I'm still
well, I mean,
verdict out for instant articles for me.
Yeah, I mean, look at BuzzFeed. I mean, BuzzFeed, their latest earnings and revenue report came out, and they took a big hit. Why did they take a hit? Because Facebook and other social media platforms aren't sharing their content like they used to. Go figure. Like we didn't see that coming. And so what's BuzzFeed trying to do? They're trying to get as many email subscribers as they possibly can. That's their core goal right now, because BuzzFeed management is freaking out because they built their entire business model on the back of other companies that they have no control over. Now it's coming home to roost. They're in trouble. They're trying to figure out a new business model, and that's around email. So, I mean, that might work, but they're a little bit late when it comes to this. Anybody listening to this really want to focus on email as your number one. Now, is that going to be the case a year from now? I don't know, but right now it is, and email's been around for a long time.
Yeah. No, well, email's been around. It ain't going anywhere.
And what we see from people always say, but millennials don't engage in email. That's not true. Every research project, each research I've seen is millennials, in some cases, engage in more email. than regular folks. So it's than regular folks. That's so funny. But but
we're
anyway,
getting old, Joe. We're getting old.
Yeah, exactly. You and I, man. What are you gonna do? But anyway, so focus on email. I think we're gonna be okay.
It's funny you say that because I definitely get some resistance / raised eyebrows when we have to incorporate an email approach. Like it's have to. I mean, it's a no-brainer part of the equation, and people just look at that as, oh, that's old. Isn't it funny that it's like considered. It's easy to see how print could be considered old school media, and radio and TV and billboards, just because they've been around since pretty much all of us have been alive. But now like email marketing is starting to be considered like old school, and I just think that that's just funny because it's not that. I mean, I think I was a senior in college when I first got email, right? Access to email. I mean, I guess I'm going to date myself. It was like 20 years ago, but still, that's not that big of a period of time. But it's so vital, and I'm glad you're saying that because it goes exactly with what we believe in, and it's just and it's so inexpensive, i.e., basically free. So you got to use email. I'm glad you're bringing that up. So on that note, you recommend that companies, even small ones, should look at purchasing subscribers and websites. Is that really something a small business should do?
Man, I'm going to take you back to my publishing days again. And every time before we launched onto a new platform, targeting a new audience, we always looked out and said, is there anybody else doing this right now that we could possibly purchase? I've been involved in a number of deals. Some of these deals are 5 figures, meaning they didn't cost very much money to purchase a blogger site, an influencer site, going into a media site. So the point is that we're talking about how much time it takes, and it does. It takes a lot of time. But what if there was already a platform out there that you could purchase, and you sort of cut your time out of there, and you could get right to really making some impact because it already exists. They already have subscribers built. And so I would just at least do the exercise. And we're going to see this. This is 2 weeks ago, Arrow Electronics, Fortune 500 electronics company, purchased a number of websites and media platforms from UBM, who is our parent company, and which is really interesting that they're going out and they're purchasing media companies, media brands. And I think that we're going to see more of this. We saw L'Oreal purchase Makeup.com. We saw Johnson & Johnson purchase Baby Center. You're going to see more and more of this happen because brands have money and they don't have patience. And I think that this is an opportunity for not just a large business, so for small businesses. What we've at Content Marketing Institute, we're a relatively small company, and we've done it 3 times ourselves. So there's absolutely an opportunity to do that, and I think that's just good strategy. And if you don't do it, I think you're missing a big opportunity.
Now, what about small businesses? Obviously, probably don't have the opportunity, or it'd be harder for them at least. What about building applicable lists for people? Because I will say that building email subscribers, it's a little bit even slower, for the circling back to that, Schweiken Media, who we helped out, we get faster YouTube subscribers than we do email subscribers, and it just takes time. And way back when, and you can tell me this is a bad strategy, and I'll take my lumps with it. But way back when, years ago, we got some lists of publishers. You can, from either conferences we went to that they didn't necessarily sign up, or buying publishing lists. And I know that there's been a big faux pas on it, which I'm even a little nervous to even bring up to you because I could have egg on my face here. But we went ahead and did that because we had to kickstart it. And now we made it super crazy easy to unsubscribe, on the top and the bottom. We want you out. And we also used a very, very top platform, email platform, so we could monitor any sort of spam complaints. And we didn't see any negative effects. We only saw positive effects. We never, and I know it's it's like pop-ups. People like, ooh, pop-ups. I'm going to say they're bad because the market. It's almost like being PC by saying you hate pop-ups. But the fact of the matter is they work. And again, it's PC to say, oh, I hate, don't buy your list, don't do that, earn it. But if you're a small business and you got to get kickstarted, and I'm seeing, we have a really good reach with the Schweike over all this time, but even that takes a while to build up the email list. So I'm glad we did what we did because those people have converted to customers. But again, we only deliver. You've been involved in our content plan from the very beginning. We only deliver super crazy, high, amazing content now. We don't blast them with buy offers ever. It's only content. It's only good. So with that being said, for like a small business, you can't purchase subscribers or a website. But should you look into building your lists, or are you saying no to that?
So, no. So basically, let's say you're going to rent a list. If you rent a list or you get a list, however you get that, the people on that list haven't necessarily opted into your content. You have your name. You can send the promotion out to them, and the best way to do it is to ask them if they would like to subscribe. You can give them a sample. Here's what we're going to send you. Would you like to subscribe to this? Give them a chance to opt into that.
Okay.
That's the absolute best way to do it. There's lots of other gray areas, but you want to make sure that if they haven't opted in to the ongoing, let's say it's an email newsletter, you don't just want to necessarily add them to the list. You want to give them the opportunity to opt in. And, of course, you can talk all day long about different gray areas and way to do it. The best way to do it is, yes, you get a list, however you get that. Let's say you worked with an event, let's say that you were exhibiting there, and you got a list as part of that package. You can't just add them to your opt-in newsletter list or anything like that. You can add them to your promo list, and then you can send them a promotion in order to get them to sign up ongoing for whatever your great content is. That's the best way to do it.
Gotcha. All right, thanks. I was a little nervous to ask that. but hey, it is what it is.
It is what
all
it
right,
is.
well,
that's right.
Do you have any parting thoughts? And definitely appreciate all your insight, and I know everybody else will too. Do you have any parting thoughts for small, medium type of business, or even a larger business that is going to be undertaking content marketing?
Well, I mean, I guess the thing that I would want to leave somebody with is just make a decision whether or not you're going to commit to it. Start small, focus on one audience, and focus on an area where you actually can be the leading expert in the world at something. So that might be a very small, particular niche that's around your focus area that you have credibility and authority to communicate on, and then follow the model. The model is shown that it works. Just follow that model. You don't have to figure out, okay, how do we do this? You can follow a lot of companies that have already done it for the last 100 years. We talk about that in the book, and then you can just move forward and just make sure you set expectations properly with your team so that they understand that it's going to take a little bit of time to really, really make inroads, but it's going to be worth it in the long run because at the end of the day, you're going to build an audience. That audience is an asset. They'll become to know, like, and trust you, and when they know, like, and trust you, they'll be more willing to buy from you.
Thank you so much for that. Now, how can people buy your book, Content Inc., and or continue to learn from you?
Sure. Thank you. Content-inc.com is the landing page. It has all the places that you could buy Content Inc. It's got a free chapter. You can sign up for all the other goodies that we have available. I've also got a Content Inc. podcast that I release every Monday, so you can subscribe to that on iTunes if you want to, and then everything for Content Marketing Institute, contentmarketinginstitute.com, and then the big event coming up every September is Content Marketing World, and we're expecting about 4,000 people from 60 countries this year, so we're pretty excited about it.
Wonderful. Now on iTunes, what would they type in?
Yeah, just type in my name. Just type in Pulizzi, P-U-L-I-Z-Z-I, and we've got two podcasts up there. One's called Content Inc., that's my own. That's like a 5-minute podcast. And then our weekly content marketing news podcast is This Old Marketing, and that's with Robert Rose. And if you want to get the news of the week in the industry, Robert and I talk about that every week.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. And if you want to follow Joe on Twitter, it's just at JoePulizzi. All right, Joe. Well, thank you again for your time. It was wonderful talking with you, and looking forward to possibly having you on again soon.
Anytime, my friend. Thanks for all the support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.